Up in New York, the G-men still wondering when they'll get their running game back. Still no timetable for Saquon Barkley's return from that torn ACL that wiped out his 2020 campaign. But the star RB is making headway, according to New York Giants head coach Joe Judge. Judge said on Monday suggesting that they're taking baby steps with him throughout training camp and into the preseason, but hoping at some point he'll be able to get the green light and return back to a form we've seen in the past.
Look, with this injury right here, we're going to make sure we do the right thing by Saquon, and that's better for the team. And we got to take a long-term vision at this right here. The doctors know a lot more than me about where he is medically. I know where his spirit is. I know where his work ethic is. I know he wants to be out there with the team. As I've said to him time and time again, when you're ready, we'll let you go. Okay. I know he wants to be out there, but we've got to make sure we, help our players make the right decisions. The goal is to get him out there and keep him out there.
All right, let's keep the conversation going. Join us this morning, your senior NFL writer Jonathan Jones at Giants camp for us. JJ, Joe Judge saying they're trying to slowly work back Saquon Barkley into form here. What is the latest you can tell us about his progress working back from this injury?
Yeah, it's great progress, Brandon. And he's a guy, if you are paying attention to the stuff that's coming out of this training camp, he's doing so much work over there on the side. Joe Judge and the training staff here, what they want to do with Saquon Barkley, listen, we're not getting you out there on the practice field, but when you are working on the side, what they want to do is mirror the workload that he would be receiving and the rest of the running backs actually are receiving out there on the field. So he is putting in the work over there and talking with folks. He looks ready to go. There are really no indications that would say, I don't think he's going to be ready for week one. I fully believe that Saquon Barkley will be ready for week one so long as there are no setbacks. Now, look, he had his surgery there at the end of October on the ACL, so he is now 9 months removed from surgery. By the time we get to week one, he will be 10 full months removed from that surgery. And today, with these athletes, an ACL is what, 6-7 months? So they're taking it easy on the guy who is their franchise offensive player. But again, no indications whatsoever that Saquon won't be ready for the week one game.
Of course, they're trying to get him ready, but also helping Daniel Jones out this offseason, signing some targets, also drafting as well. One of those targets, Kenny Galladay, cost him $72 million. What can you tell us about this connection between these two so far in camp?
Yeah, the connection between Daniel Jones and Kenny Galladay so far has been on holiday here with New York. They have not been able to link up all that well. We know about Kenny Galladay and his catch radius. We know that he missed some of last season with the hip, but he seems to be back at full health, had a good offseason, was able to rest and recover, and obviously, as you mentioned, Brandon, he got paid the 4-year, $72 million deal. One that was a little bit high if you ask some folks around the league, but no shade to Kenny Galladay. You are paid what you are worth, and that's what the Giants deemed. But he and Daniel Jones have been working throughout this offseason. They got some work in down in Charlotte, where Daniel Jones is from. They've been working together so far this training camp. You've been waiting to see that day where it all comes together, all coalesces for the two. Yesterday, they had a nice, deep connection that everyone here was like, well, okay, finally, it's happened. Now you want to build off of that. It has been a slow go for these two, but today, with the pads coming on, hopefully they can get a little bit more chemistry, as Kenny Galladay has been working mostly against James Bradberry out there on the practice field.
Well, those two, of course, trying to connect the dots and hopefully pin off some success in the regular season. If you're Dave Gettleman, I feel like we're talking about this every season going into the regular season. Are the Giants under the microscope here? When you look at the NFC East, they have a chance to maybe trend up. But if you're Dave Gettleman, are you a little bit on the hot seat this season?
I've known Dave Gettleman for a while, ever since he got his first general manager job in Carolina. If the seat is warm for Dave Gettleman, and I believe it is a little warm, he doesn't feel it. He doesn't care about it. Dave Gettleman doesn't care what you think about Dave Gettleman. But the seat is warm, and the Giants are going to have to produce, having no playoff wins since they won that Super Bowl those 10 years ago. And, you look at some of the projects. Daniel Jones, you have to take that next step here in year 3. He's a guy that Dave Gettleman obviously tied himself to in making that draft pick just a couple of years ago. Again, Kenny Galladay, did you overpay him? Well, it's going to certainly look like an overpay if he and Daniel Jones cannot get on the same page. And you go back to the first day of training camp here, Kelvin Benjamin, a Dave Gettleman project, no doubt, a guy that Dave drafted in Carolina who switched to tight end, and that project lasted all of about 10 minutes into training camp. here. So far, the results aren't great, but here at CBS Sports HQ, Jonathan Jones, we don't give you the hot takes just 1 week into training camp. We give you lukewarm takes, okay? And so the seat is warm, but it is not hot on Dave Gettleman. They still have some time. Again, Brandon, pads come on today. You learn a whole lot about your team when they're out there thumping in those pads.
AJ giving us that lukewarm, as he just said there, the take there with the Giants as we head into 2021. Of course, their battle in the NFC East. Appreciate your time as always, my friend. Take care. Don't forget the conversation continues. The Pick Six podcast. Will Britton and John Breach breaking down the latest. Of course, Carson Wentz undergoing foot surgery, the Vikings COVID concerns, and Nick Chubb, he gets paid. Download and follow. Give the guys a listen.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.